Back at IRP in Claremont, Indiana, the Pinglefunger Nationals. It's time now for the Schnitz Tech Tip for the latest pop-ups for your hot rod motorcycle. Once again, here's Griff Allen.
If you take a look at Barry Hanson's record-setting street-legal Hayabusa, you realize that it takes horsepower and a lot of it to make speed like this. And after all, the thing is turbocharged. That does help a little bit. But the chassis, the suspension setup, and exactly how the bike handles, Barry, sometimes that's even more important, is that once you get a lot of horsepower, then you got to know how to get it to the ground. What exactly are some of the tricks that we're going to learn about how to get the power down to the ground when you go racing?
Well, I mean, it's very important to get the center point of gravity low on the motorcycle. I mean, obviously, when you make power, the higher the gravity, it's going to wheelie, and you want to keep the bike from wheeling. So the big thing is get the center point of gravity down, get as much weight moved forward as you possibly can. So one of the things we do, obviously, is lower the bike by either cutting the forks, or a lot of guys use straps or what have you. Also, we want to extend the swing arm a little bit. Sometimes you can extend it back 2 or 3 inches. You can take an average street bike, extend it back 2 or 3 inches, and lower the front an inch or so, and increase your ETs, unbelievably.
All right, then the suspension, once it's lowered, it's going to react. Is that there are undulations and subtleties in the track, and that speaks to your fork damping and that kind of setup, the spring underneath the seat, all kinds of things like that. Maybe you're getting into 201 rather than 101, but give me a little advice there.
Well, on suspension, when you're talking about shocks and dampening, you've got basically 2 adjustments there. You've got speed control, which you can have compression speed and rebound speed. That's very important. And also you have compression, which is the spring pressure itself. So obviously, in order to get traction, you want to soften it a little bit so you get more weight transfer on the rear shock. In order to keep it from wheeling, you want to add spring pressure to it to keep the front end down. So it's always riding that fine line as to how soft it is to get traction or how stiff it is to keep the front end down.
And speaking of the street bike shootout, and Barry Henson, there he is, mounted up, ready to go into our final. He'll be facing Mike Slowe from Bensalem, Pennsylvania.
And Mike Slowe is going to be the tough guy to beat in this pass, but Barry has just been dominant. He has to run a 198.17 if he wants to back up that 200-mile-an-hour pass.
He just did it, 198.03, just missed it barely. 7:29 beats a 7:42.
Wow, I can't describe the weekend. I mean, other than racing with my teammate here in the finals, we've worked hard all year for this. This makes, 8 out of 9 races that we've won combined in our in-house, and we're just so excited about it. It's just awesome. This guy is awesome right here, great competitor. It's just unbelievable.
So here's the way the points stand. Slow, but not that big a lead for him. Pro Stock final coming up now. Paul Gast right there on his Suzuki will be facing Todd Doege out of Minnesota, the number 1 and 2 qualifier.
And these are the leaders of the class. These are the guys who really set the standards for what happens in AMA Prostar racing. So you're going to see a battle to the finish line without a doubt.
Doege was first off the starting line, first to the finish line, 7:17, beats out of 7:18. He ran 189.
That's awesome. I come to these Prostar races to race that man right there. He's the man to beat out here. And I come here, and when I can win, it just makes me want to come back and race him again.
Doege with almost a 100-point lead over France. Now let's move on to the Pro Modified final. Here comes Charlie Farrar from Hendersonville, Tennessee, the number 1 qualifier. He'll face Mike Caputo from Toledo, Ohio, who qualified number 2.
And this is an exact matchup of what we had at Norwalk. So you're going to see Caputo trying to really push the limits here, and he's gaining ground on Charlie Farrar.
Well, he beat him off the starting line, but not to the finish line. Farrar 681, beats out of 685. He ran 201 miles per hour.
Now, I don't know what it is that we're welded together side by side this weekend.
Yeah, that was the closest race I've had in quite a while. Mike's our teammate. He's got a CNW whole bike, so who else to be there with me besides my teammate?
And it looks like Farrar has the points lead pretty well locked up. Campbell is in a distant second. Funny bike final coming up right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is Keith Lynn from Wabash, Indiana on a Kawasaki. He'll take on the big upset guy, Troy Brown from Parsons, Kansas.
And Keith Lynn is a veteran of this class, so if he can pull this out, he is the guy to do it. And what a backpedal job to get there, but he wins it.
7:52 beats an 8:23.
It's almost like you had it handed to you, but still, it was a wild ride for yourself.
It really was. This thing, the front end kind of washed out on coming down through there, and just I think the track might be getting a little slick or something. You know, my crew there had this thing dialed in all day. Roger Gordon, Dick and Craig Kirby. We had her down to that final round there, but we got lucky.
Looks like Hogan has a very slim lead over Nickelberry, who is in second place. And now let's see if the track is getting slick. Ron Webb out of Alaska thinking upset over Larry McBride.
And the starter nut came off on that. They blew an engine in the last round, so they were thrashing to get back, and just one piece was overlooked.
So Larry McBride qualified with a 589. Let's see if he can do it. Look at the flames coming out of that bike. 614, 235.
You know, Ron's a very good friend of mine, and we was trying to wait on him, helping him out with tools, air, whatever we could do to get him to make this round. And, you know, he did the burnout and he shut off. And, you know, it just kind of took all the air out of me, you know. I went, wow, cannot believe we're not going to have side-by-side run for the Outdoor Channel. But, you know, we're in the victory circle again. We got the Pingle Enterprise, Trim Techs, Drag Specialties, and Redline Oil, Kawasaki back in the winner circle, and I'm thrilled.
Look at McBride with a commanding lead over Chris Hand.
And Ted, also congratulations to Pro AT winner Mark Colson, who beat his brother Mike Colson.
Next week, we're coming to you from Memphis, Tennessee. Until then, I'm Ted Jones. Griff Allen and Keith Kaiser reminding you to obtain a copy of this show. Log on to masterstv.com. So long, everyone.